everyone, it's Donna here once again to talk about business and productivity and accounting and all kinds of stuff to hopefully help you on your success journey. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about a podcast I've been listening to. It's called The Mindset Mentor, and you can find it at MWF. Now I've forgotten the website. Mindset Mentor. I found it on Spotify. I had someone else recommend it. It is a wonderful podcast. And what really caught me was actually the one featuring Hal Elrod. And I was honestly expecting that it was going to be all about waking up at 5 in the morning. 5 in the morning does not work for me. I have tried it. I've gotten up at 3 in the morning. But that's usually because I can't sleep. And so that actually creates some problems later down the line. So I have I've decided, well, I can take the principles taught in the Miracle Morning and apply it to a time that's, I don't know, a little bit more that fits in my lifestyle a little bit better. Now, we usually get up between 7 and 7:30. My sweetheart leaves for work about 8, between 7:30 and 8. And then it usually, when you are the boss, it's a lot easier to manage your time a little bit differently. So my routine has been to get up early, to fix him breakfast so that he doesn't stop and get something at McDonald's or, on the way. For a lot of reasons, we don't eat out very much. And we want to, I really want to make sure that he has a good breakfast and that we know what he's eating and that that he's avoiding the pitfalls of dining out all the time. And it's just something really nice that I like to do for him. So that's the first thing I do. And as soon as he leaves, and I want to kind of be available for him up until the moment that he leaves, and I kiss him goodbye and, let him know how much I love him, because that's important for my relationship, for a lot of reasons. Then I kind of start on my Miracle Morning routine, and this has really helped me dial in my days quite a bit. I've only been doing it this week. I will be kind of returning to report on this again later as it becomes a more entrenched habit. But basically what I do is once he leaves for work, then I will actually start my day. And part of it I start with, I can start before he leaves. What Hal Elrod talks about in his book is lifesavers, just like the candy. And one of the reasons I really liked Hal is that he's gone through some of the things that Chris has gone through. He was on top of the world in his 20s and was actually hit head-on by a drunk driver, bled out at the scene, had to be airlifted to the hospital. They did manage to bring him back. He has a traumatic brain injury, and so these are all familiar. Okay. So that kind of really resonated with me that, yes, I do know that someone can go through that and still come out with a positive attitude. And what Hal had said in his podcast was that he, because so much of his body was shattered, they weren't expecting him to live, and then they were expecting him to be in a wheelchair. And he told his father that, I can't control this. And so if I have to be in a wheelchair, I'm going to be the happiest wheelchair-bound person you've ever met in your life. And it didn't work out that's what ended up in his life. He actually was able to fully regain his health and went back to work and started doing what he did. And at the time it was selling Cutco knives. And so he decided, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to double my sales goals. I'm going to do all these things to really bring me back to where I was. And then 2008 happened. And everything bottomed out. He ended up hundreds of thousands of dollars in personal debt, and he needed a way to come out of this. And all of this is familiar. Either I've been through it, or Chris has been through it, but it's familiar. Or we've had friends that have gone through this, where especially in 2008, which was right about the time that I started doing bookkeeping for a living, when everything just fell apart in the economy. We have had several friends that were heavily invested in real estate. I actually had a client that was for my virtual assistance company at the time that was heavily invested in real estate, and they really did lose everything, including their marriage. So it was, there was a lot of fallout, and so this is something that's familiar to all of us. So he was, really depressed, and anybody would be in those circumstances. But he talked about a couple of things that I really, too much soda, that I really, really liked. And one was the 5-minute rule. And I believe Mel Robbins, I think it is. I'm going to have to read her book. It's called The 5-Second Rule. Basically what it is, I don't know if this is the 5-second rule she talks about. I haven't read her book yet. But he does say that at Cutco, they were taught that if you have a setback and you need to feel a little bit depressed about it, you can be angry and depressed and rant and rage and do whatever you want to do, but set a timer for 5 minutes. And at the end of 5 minutes, you ask yourself, can I do anything about this or not? And if the answer is, I can't change it, well, you might as well just be happy. And if the answer is, yeah, I can change it, then you do the things to make a change. So that was what he was actually doing after his car wreck, was that he said, I can't change this. This wasn't my fault. The other guy was drunk. He said, I can't change anything about this. All he changed was his mind. And I firmly believe that was part of the reason he was able to make a recovery. It's amazing how the mind and body work together so well. But anyway, he did the same thing, or he was really struggling to do the same thing after he lost everything financially. Because even after his wreck, he said, yeah, here he is, he's been in a coma and he's in the hospital, and we know this kind of firsthand. You're in the hospital and the nurses are coming to check on you, and the doctors are coming to check on you, and people are bringing your meals, and because it's external, everybody is concerned, and then they come to you and everybody wants to help, and that's wonderful. I am not by any means discouraging this. It's kind of nice. But then when the economy crashed and he lost things financially, no one's banging on your door to bring you meals then. You kind of suffer in silence. You don't really want to talk about, I don't know what to do to bring my sales up. So he finally, after he was putting everything on his credit cards, and he is the Dave Ramsey advocate. I am not, but I'll talk about that in a later video. He said he went and talked to a friend of his, and his friend said, get up in the morning and go for a run. And of course, all this time, he's been immersed in a sales culture. And in the sales culture, there's a lot of personal development that goes on. There's a lot of learning about sales. So everybody I know that's in sales has read and listened to Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar and Brian Tracy. And they're very steeped in that culture. And Cutco evidently was no exception. So he went for a run, and he's not a runner, so I could relate to that. I often laugh and say, if you see me running, you better start running too, because that means something's chasing me. I don't run. But his friend said, go for a run. And he said he didn't really want to, and because he's like me, he doesn't run. But he did. He got up the next morning and he put on his basketball shoes and he got his iPod and plugged in some Jim Rohn to listen to so he would have positive things going into his mind. And he went for a run. And the idea was simply to clear his head. And then he heard the statement, you can only be as successful as your personal development. And I would have to actually look it up to see the exact statement, but that's basically what it is. If you want to be successful in life, you have to work on yourself. So he decided to do that. He decided to write down everything that everybody has ever told him that he needs to do to be successful. You know, we're told to, journaling and, oh, I forgot to do that this morning. Journaling and reading personal development books and affirmations and exercise and meditation. And he decided, well, if one of these is going to help me be successful, I'm going to do them all. Because, anything worth doing is worth overdoing. And so he decided that was it. So S.A.V.E.R.S. I'll put that up here so we can see what it actually says. S.A.V.E.R.S. It's always interesting when I decide to do this kind of stuff on the fly. Come down. Sometimes I have a kind of a general topic. And then I'll forget to actually make all the things that I need to do to put all this stuff on the screen. So I'll have to do it on the fly, which is kind of nice. S.A.V.E.R.S. So these are his lifesavers that he said that he really credited with saving his life. He was actually to the point of thinking of suicide. Although he would not have done it, it was on his mind. So S, let's start with S. S is for silence, and that means meditation. And what that meant to him, sorry you guys. So the silence for him was meditation, 10 minutes. He actually set a timer and sat in, not just sitting in silence. I have tried meditating, by the way, immediately after I wake up. And what usually happens is I fall asleep sitting up. So I have learned to put this at the other end of S.A.V.E.R.S. But that was where he started. He started with meditating. And he set a timer for 10 minutes and meditated for 10 minutes. And that is the very first thing that he did. The next one is affirmations. And he has some very specific ways of doing affirmations. In other words, it's not the money flows to me quickly and easily kind of thing. He says he actually affirms specific actions. So one of my affirmations is, I'm going to make X amount of money in 6 months, so by June 1st. And I'm going to do this by taking these specific actions. I am going to lose 50 pounds and weigh 120 pounds by December 31st, 2020, by the end of next year. And I'm going to do this by getting up and exercising every single morning and being mindful about my eating habits. It's something specific. So he claims, and I like it. He says he kind of makes affirmations in all areas of his life. So career, health, relationships, family. He puts that all in there. So it's a statement of what you want to have happen, plus why you want to have it happen, plus what you're going to do to make it happen. So one might be, I commit to doubling my income in 3 months in order to take financial care of my family. I commit to making 10 sales calls between 8 and 9 a.m. every morning. So he gets really specific with what he is affirming. And so mine would be, I want to weigh 120 pounds by the end of the year. It's a 50-pound weight loss because I want to be in vibrant health, and I'm going to do this by exercising every morning. The third thing is visualization, and this is something I personally struggle with. It is something I tend to avoid because I just have a hard time with it. And he said the first morning, all he did was set a timer for 10 minutes for each of these. So very simple, very simple. But when you're trying to meditate, 10 minutes is a really long time. So trying to do two things at once, it never works out very well. So visualization would be sitting there and thinking about, what would it feel like for me to weigh 120 pounds? I haven't weighed that little since high school. So I have to stop and think about, well, what could I do at that weight? What could I, what would I do? How would I feel? If you are visualizing income, you'd visualize, well, what does that really look like to me? How does this feel to me? For me, when I think about having a lot of income, I think about having a thriving business. And so I start visualizing being in an office and having hired a bunch of bookkeepers and my phone ringing and all of this things happening around me. So that's what that looks like to me. And then I also visualize checking my bank balances and seeing commas in it instead of maybe even a couple of commas. But I visualize, and right now my income affirmation indicates a level of income that I had just a few months ago, and I kind of backslid a little bit. It happens to everybody. So I said, in 2 months, I want to be back to where I was. And this is what I need to do to get there. So visualization, or you can do it with a vision board, but really, really, really get into it. Engage your emotions. Really feel, if I was to visualize remarrying, for an example, I would really think about how it would feel to walk down the aisle, and how it would feel to be in that dress, and how, not only that, but how would it feel to wake up the next morning and know that I'm married. You kind of go down the list of everything it is. If you want to travel a lot, which is also on my list of things I want to do, I visualize making the reservations at the airline. I visualize getting off the airplane and being in Thailand or Cambodia or China or Germany, which is easy to do because I've actually been there, or Central America, or I visualize being at a resort somewhere. I visualize going scuba diving in Hawaii, and I really, really try to feel how good that would feel. it's really interesting because there is a quote, and I want to say it's Edmund Hillary. It was one of the great pioneers, and I think it wasn't Edmund Hillary. I think it was the first person to the South Pole, and I cannot remember his name. Roald Amundsen? No, maybe he was the North Pole. I'm drawing a blank on this guy's name, but he says, once you fully commit to something, somehow the universe conspires to make sure that it happens. He said once he decided he was going to go to the pole, he started, and this wasn't just, not exploratory, but really saying, I'm going, this is what I need to have happen. I need to talk to these kinds of people, but I'm 100% committed to going. That's when the universe conspires to make sure that that happens. So, and I have seen it in my own life too, where all of a sudden I will start meeting the people that I need to meet to make things happen the way I want them to happen. You can use it positively, you can use it negatively. So I just know that it happens. I have seen it happen in my own life where I literally could not have done anything myself to affect that outcome, but because I decided that was the outcome I wanted and I really, really committed to it, that was the outcome I ended up with. That's why I get really frustrated when people start saying anything that I don't want having to happen. Whether it's, whether they're creating health problems by saying, well, this is going to happen and we just know it. I kind of laugh and go, don't even create that. Just don't. I've seen it happen in marriages where one spouse will say, I'm done. I just don't want to be married anymore. And they will actually create an environment where the other person doesn't want to be married anymore. Or maybe the other way around, where one person in a relationship does want to get married, and so they start really visualizing the outcome of being proposed to and getting married. So, there's a lot of things you can kind of play with the visualization, but if you have to really, really feel it, and you have to be positive about it. And that's where the 5-minute rule comes in. If something happens, for example, I had a flat tire yesterday, and I spent the 5 minutes getting off the road going, oh man, and in Lehigh, in the construction area, and then I got off the road and I said, well, is there anything I can do to change the fact that I had a flat? No. Is there anything I can do to make the fact that I had a flat more pleasant? Yes, I can call my best friend. I had my laptop with me. I said, I can study. I can reach out to Chris and ask him to come rescue me. I actually don't know how to change a tire, of all weird things for me not to know how to do. I started really looking at, well, what can I do to make this situation a little bit better so that I don't feel like I just wasted my whole day because I spent time waiting to be rescued. By the way, ladies, learn how to change a tire. I decided, this is out of my hands. I can't change that. But I can arrange to have it taken care of, and I can make the most of the time that I have, which now teaches me to always have my electronics charged, always have them with me, and always be prepared for something untoward to happen so that if something happens, I have something to do. I'm not just sitting and surfing Facebook. I'm working, I'm studying, I'm reading something uplifting so that I'm making the most of that time. So yeah, you can use visualization. You can use it positively or negatively. A lot of people will use it negatively, and that's where you hear a lot of things about, I can't afford this, when in fact the answer is, I really don't want to put my money towards this. So be mindful about the way you talk to yourself and what you think about, and try to make sure it's positive. So the last one is scribing. And he said, yes, this is journaling, but this fits in the S.A.V.E.R.S. So scribing, journaling, take 10 minutes and just write in your journal. And you can write in your journal about basically anything you want. But I really try to focus on what are my goals. And I go back to the visualization where I do a future vision and look back. My journal's right here, so I will look and see what I wrote yesterday. I write about things that I learned the day before. I write about things that are bothering me and how to resolve them. There's a lot of different ways you can journal. You can find a lot of journaling prompts, but the idea is to sit down and write. You can do these in any order. So my exercise is usually yoga. It's cold outside. I don't want to go walking. I do yoga in the mornings. It's just too cold to go walking. So that kind of takes in the silence because there is a meditative period at the end. So I will do yoga. I don't play any music when I do it. I have a list of general things that I want to do. I've taken a lot of yoga classes, so I'm not just lost. But I will say, today I want to do 4 sun salutation 1s and 3 sun salutations 2s, which I don't like because it means you're sitting in awkward pose or chair pose. And the sun's coming in through my blinds really funny, which is why I'm leaning over to the side. So I will have these general things, and then I will say I'm going to do sun salutations, and I'm going to go into my standing series, and then I'm going to focus on opening my hips and lower back. And then after the standing series, I do a balance series. You would think that since I run around in 5-inch heels all day, I could balance. It's not necessarily been the case. I can trip in bare feet, but not in heels. I do that, and then I do a seated series and some inversions, and then I go into Savasana, or then I do my meditation, and then I go into Savasana or corpse pose. And usually by then I have moved the blood around my body so much that I don't feel the need to fall asleep. Usually if I try to go straight into meditation immediately upon waking, I will go back to sleep. But if I exercise first or make it part of my exercise routine, and yoga is very good for that, then I'm not dropping off in the middle of it, because now I've exercised, I've warmed up my body, I've kind of told my body it's time to be awake. So he actually implemented all of these things, and he said 10 minutes per practice. And he said within 2 months, he had completely turned his life around. So I recommend it. He says he gets up at 5 in the morning. You do hear about other people who get up ridiculously early in the morning. I choose not to do that because I just choose to start my day later. But I'm in a position where I can. I work from home. I don't have to be in an office at a particular time. If I did, I would get up earlier. I don't even especially have to wash my hair. So that's some things that I add to the practice. But I want to make sure that I hit all 6 of these, 5 of these, 6 of these, and do at least 10 minutes of them. It turns out that my morning routine runs about 2 hours long because I do take a full 45 minutes to 60 minutes in exercise alone. And the rest are shorter practices. But just by getting up early and doing that, then I've got exercise out of the way for the rest of the day. I don't have to worry about that. I'm not going to be 9 o'clock at night and just exhausted and going, oh man, I didn't do my yoga practice. And because yoga it's a really hard workout, by the way. But because of the nature of the workout, it's a lot of stretching and it's a lot of body weight strength building. And so it just feels so good. And then I'm not stiff the rest of the day. I'm not in pain as I'm sitting here doing bookkeeping. It doesn't hurt, and that makes a huge difference on the outcome of my day. It also improves my attitude for the rest of the day. So that is S.A.V.E.R.S, and I really recommend it. he said, I will return and report. We'll revisit this topic again. It's only Wednesday. I've only done this for a couple of days. I really do enjoy it. It makes a difference in my outlook for the rest of the day. So if you enjoy these videos, I invite you to please like, share, and subscribe. If you are interested in having me do your bookkeeping, please feel free to reach out to me through my website. It's mysimplebookkeeping.com. I would love to hear from you. I would love to know what topics you would like me to address. I know I do a lot of productivity and business, and then I talk about bookkeeping, but the fact is, as an accountant, my job, I feel like, is not just to look into the past and tell you what you've done historically. It's to help you look forward and help you decide where you want to put your money to get the most bang for your buck, to really grow your business. So that's kind of it for today. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. And as always, if you enjoy these videos, please like, share, and subscribe. And I will talk to you again soon.